Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to Overwatch and Overwatch Contenders, I think we'll call this. So, this is going to be, for some of you, maybe a reality check. For some of you, something we already knew. Tier 2 is in a lot of trouble, and I mean, what I mean by Tier 2 is Tier 2 of Overwatch Esports. So, let's start off with explaining the Overwatch Esports system, the path to pro, as they like to call it. So, at the very top of the pyramid, and think of it as a pyramid, the very top of the pyramid you've got the Overwatch League, and obviously the Overwatch League is the premier esports competition for Overwatch. There is a lot of money in the Overwatch League, millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, and it's a very prestigious thing. We all know about the Overwatch League, but there are several tiers below the Overwatch League where Overwatch League teams find their players, basically, because, you know, players have to come from somewhere. And this starts off with Overwatch Contenders, and this is what we call Tier 2. Overwatch Contenders is kind of the granddaddy of it all, if you sort of mean. The Overwatch Contenders has been around for longer than the Overwatch League has. So Overwatch Contenders used to be the premier esports competition for Overwatch, apart from Apex in Korea, because Contenders didn't exist in Korea until the Overwatch League, because it was Apex. You also had in Europe and NA, you had Contenders, and that was the premier competition in those regions before the Overwatch League. And then below that, you currently have Contenders Trials, which is the competition you have to go through to get into Overwatch Contenders. And then below Contenders Trials, you have Overwatch Open Division, which anyone can sign up for and compete in, whether you're Bronze, Plat, Diamond, Grandmaster, Top 500, you can compete in that against other teams for a chance to go into the Overwatch Contenders Trials. For a chance at the Overwatch Contenders. And then you've got other competitions below that as well, but generally when you go below Overwatch Open Division, it's ranked ladder. So that's kind of, I always see them as tiers. Tier 1 is Overwatch League. Overwatch Contenders is Tier 2. Tier 3 to me is kind of Overwatch Contenders Trials, but you can kind of merge the two contenders. So some people see Tier 3 as Open Division, and then obviously Tier 4 is kind of just like everyone else. And for a long time, you know, Overwatch Contenders has been the hub of a lot of really, really good talent that hasn't quite made it to the Overwatch League yet. A lot of the talent kind of crops up in the Overwatch World Cup, and we've talked about that before. So, Overwatch Contenders, it's not, you know, I'm sure you'll know this, but it's not city-based or anything. It's just teams that get together. Some will be orgs, some will just be teams, and they compete to show off their skill for a chance for someone scouting to see them for the Overwatch League, because obviously there's no progression above Contenders. You don't get, say, promoted from Contenders into Overwatch League, because Overwatch League is a buy-in. It's not a league where you can get promoted into it, which we'll have a discussion on later. But the thing is with Tier 2, Overwatch Contenders, it's in a very, very, very bad state. And that's putting it lightly. So the Overwatch League gets a lot of press, so we say. Like, it's Blizzard's baby right now. They market it to the hills. You know, we see it everywhere when you're, you know, looking at Overwatch, whether that be playing the game, you see it in the game. Whether you're looking at the Overwatch site or the Overwatch League has its own site, it's plastered everywhere. On Overwatch's Twitter, everywhere. Contenders, not so much. Not so much. You don't see as much Contenders being promoted, do you? And this is kind of where it falls down. I have a list in front of me of the teams that competed in 2018 Overwatch Contenders Season 1. This was the first Overwatch Contenders season to be held after the creation of the Overwatch League, or the start of the Overwatch League. So this was the first time that some academy teams from the Overwatch League would have competed as well. So when we look at this, in Europe originally there were 2 groups of 6 teams, 12 teams in total. And in North America, you also had 2 groups of 6 teams. So let's go through these teams, and this, if you haven't been around the contender scene for a while, might come as a bit of a shock. So let's start off with the European contenders. British Hurricane, which is the academy team of London Spitfire, still active. Angry Titans, still active. August and Hungary, disbanded. Team Giganti, still active. Team Singularity has not competed since Contenders Trials Season 2 2018, so I regard them as inactive or disbanded, even though that's not official. That's a disband? Disbanded. Eagle Gaming, former winners of Contenders, disbanded. CIS Hope, disbanded. Copenhagen Flames, disbanded. Young and Beautiful, still active. And Mosaic Esports, disbanded. So, of the people that were competing in the original Overwatch Contenders 2018, the majority of them in European Contenders have been disbanded. Let's move to NA. It gets worse. Toronto Esports, disbanded due to a conflict with Toronto Defiance naming rights, resurrected as the Uprising Academy after a partnership with the Boston Uprising, so kind of still active, but, the name doesn't exist anymore. Gladiators Legion, just been announced, inactive/disbanded. XL2, just been announced, inactive/disbanded. Mayhem Academy, disbanded. Grizzly Esports, disbanded. Last Night's Leftovers, disbanded. Fusion University, we don't know what's going on there at the moment. We're expecting a rebrand for the Fusion University, but they are now competing in Contenders Korea. Envision Esports, disbanded, had complaints about how Contenders teams were being treated compared to Overwatch League teams. Optic/GG Esports Academy, the Academy of Houston Outlaws, disbanded. NRG Esports, the Academy of San Francisco Shock Overwatch League winners 2019, disbanded. Simplicity, disbanded. Bye-week, disbanded. Yes. Out of all of those teams, at a stretch you can say 2 out of the 12 are not disbanded. That is kind of heartbreaking when you look at it, isn't it? And it is most prevalent in European and NA contenders in some respects. And there are teams that have disbanded in Korea, but nowhere near as many. And I'm not sure about the other regions, but NA really struck me. 10 out of the 12 teams have been disbanded. And there is no disparity between teams that were either just teams that got together because they were mates, or teams that were actually academy teams of Overwatch League teams. When we look at the Gladiators Legion, XL2 Academy, Mayhem Academy, Optic Academy, NRG Esports, they are all academy teams to the Overwatch League teams, and they're disbanding as well. And why? Well, Overwatch Contenders has seen some changes, and that's another thing I want to highlight as well. There were 12 teams in European Contenders. There are now only 8. And in all fairness, NA Contenders have been expanded to East and Western divisions, so that's kind of understandable. I think there's now 16 teams in NA Contenders all in all, with 8 in each division. But it's not looking brilliant. And even when you look at just this year, so Overwatch Contenders 2019 Season 2, North America East, Grunto Esports, who came second in their group, have been disbanded. Yeah, this is not a great look, let's be honest. Tier 2 is in a lot of trouble. And why are all these teams disbanding? Well, because the sponsorship, the money, it's not there. It takes a lot of money to run an Overwatch League team, or an Overwatch Contenders team, sorry. And there's very little comeback for the organisers and the owners of these teams. Yes, the players will get the prize money if they do well. Don't get me wrong, they do. But in terms of any comeback for the owners of these teams or the organisers of these teams, they're always running at a loss. Majority of these teams are always running at a loss. And it's kind of down to Blizzard to sort this out. Now, there has been a small increase in prize money. It's not much. The invention of the gauntlet, which we saw at the end of last Contenders season, is great. It offers another way to earn, but it's only for the very top teams. And, out of the NA teams, most of the teams that went into the gauntlet were, let's be honest, Overwatch League Academy teams. Atlanta Academy, Gladiators Legion, XL2, and it's not working. Somewhere Tier 2 is not working. The sponsorship is not there. The promotion is not there. And the question is, how could this be fixed? Well, there's a variety of things Blizzard could do. Promote it better. The first thing is just promote it better. Let's be honest. Why not promote a lot of contenders during Overwatch League streams? You don't see Overwatch Contenders promoted during Overwatch League streams. Why? That is such a big platform. Tens of thousands of viewers, sometimes hundreds of thousands. That is such a big platform to promote Overwatch Contenders. And you don't do it. Comparatively, right? Twitch viewers. Overwatch League, around 100k when it's on. And that's, you know, normal. Sometimes it can go much, much higher. But when you look at Overwatch Contenders, depending on region, 5k? Sometimes 10k if it's Korean contenders. That's not brilliant, is it? That's not brilliant. So, there's a variety of things they could do. And I am of the opinion that perhaps rebranding it again, not getting necessarily rid of the Contenders name, but perhaps bringing it under the umbrella of the Overwatch League. So, my vision, and again, this is complicated and perhaps not doable, but my vision would be to bring it under the OWL name, right? So you'd have the Overwatch League Premier, which would be the Overwatch League now. It would be your San Francisco Shocks, your London Spitfires, these city-based buy-in teams, right? And that would be basically your Premier League, if you see what I mean. The Overwatch League Premier. And then you'd have the Overwatch League Challengers, or the Overwatch League Contenders, so let's say. Let's keep the Contenders name for sake of consistency. And this is where you would find Contenders. But it would be under the name of the Overwatch League. So it would be under the branding and the promotion of the Overwatch League. Also, this means I would like to see Overwatch Contenders, when possible, broadcasted, or at least available to watch, on the Overwatch League broadcasting services. So, the Overwatch League website, the Overwatch League Twitch stream, things like that. To give it much more awareness. Put it in front of people. Also, the Blizzard and Overwatch devs could do their part as well by advertising Overwatch Contenders not only in the Battle.net launcher, but in the game itself. Why not? I'm not saying you have to do a massive store where you can buy merch and all stuff like that. I'm not saying go all out. But I'm saying, why not, like you do with the What's New thing when you do the events, or the Shop Now or Watch Live Now when the Overwatch League is on, when the Overwatch Contenders is on, why not put something bottom right corner in the Overwatch client saying Overwatch Contenders Live, watch live here. Little things can make a massive, massive difference, and it's about exposure for these teams. It's about exposure. Not only would it help the players on these teams because they get more exposure, it will help the streams for Overwatch Contenders, it will bring in more viewers, it'll bring in more sponsorships, it'll bring in more money, and in the end it will mean less teams are having to disband because of costs. Which is what this comes down to in the end. Above anything else, it's about costs. Because most of these teams are running at a loss. And it's really heartbreaking to see some fantastic teams, some really fantastic teams, just disappear. Just disappear. It's really, really crazy when you look at all these teams that I remember the names of. Bazooka Puppies, who rebranded to Side Effects, and now they're not competing. Copenhagen Flames used to be a really good team in the European Contenders. Again, not competing. Eagle Gaming, former winners of Contenders in its current format, now disbanded. CIS Hope, another big name from Contenders from not that long ago, disbanded. Auglis and Hungary, someone who, a team that kind of put, you know, it was a team that Cruz was playing for before he joined the Paris Eternal. Disbanded. There's only teams that have really got a lot of backing. Say, British Hurricane have got the backing of C9. obviously, because of their affiliation with London Spitfire. And they've got a lot of backing, so that's pretty good. Giganti have always had a pretty good backing because of what they are. They existed well before the Overwatch League did. When you look at NA Contenders, and you look at all of these Overwatch League teams, or the Academy teams anyway, pulling out because it's just not worth. They are losing money, hand over fist. And I can understand from a business point of view why they would pull out. And a lot of these teams, when you look at XL2 and the Gladiators Legion, they haven't said they've disbanded. They've just said, we won't be fielding a roster for 2020. Because I think they're waiting, perhaps, for some sort of change. Some sort of promotion, some sort of input from Blizzard to try and revive the Tier 2 and lower, don't get me wrong, and lower scenes of the Overwatch Esports. Because I think, in some respects, Blizzard have got, they've kind of been blinded by the Overwatch League. They've put so much into the Overwatch League with its branding, with all of the merch you can get for it, all of the promotion, all of the deals they've been doing with sponsorships, Coca-Cola and the likes, and Tier 2 has just it's been forgotten about, and it's suffering badly. And I'd hate to think that we would lose Tier 2 because it's a platform for so many great players that are now in the Overwatch League, let's not forget. Players like Brucen and Swimmer, who are now in the Overwatch League. It would be a tragedy to see Tier 2 really just basically disappear. And so many teams are disbanding that there's no consistency to Tier 2 or anything. Teams you support or like can disappear in a flash. And it's heartbreaking to see. And I hope Blizzard do something about it in the very near future. But this is something I wanted to go over. It's a long video. It's a sad video in some respects, but the struggles of Tier 2 and lower esports for Overwatch need to be highlighted because it is crazy how difficult it is for these teams at the moment. But I'm going to leave it here. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you'd like to give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.